Are you a music fan? Do you like reading about musicians, hearing about people's lives, their stories, and all that good stuff? Well, today we're going to talk about a biography that I read about a local Detroit musician called Autobiograffitti by Tony Muggs. Tony's been involved in the Detroit music scene for many, many years and is in several different bands, but the one that I know him for the most is the band The Muggs, which I've actually seen several times over the years. So I was really excited that I got to read this book, and it's full of pictures, and the way that his storytelling is absolutely fantastic. The way it's narrated, his persona comes across. You know, it follows his career and his trials and tribulations as he was starting to become an up-and-coming musician. At age 28, he ends up having a stroke. You know, obviously it's a very big setback, and just how he overcomes it and the support of his family and his friends, having such a positive outlook and using visualization. I flew through it. Super enjoyable. And on top of this, there is an album that goes along with this book by his band Dude. You can find it and streaming on Spotify. I will put a link down to that as well. The music's freaking great. You can hear so many different influences from the music that's bluesy and rock and pop and psychedelic. Like, there's just so much. You know, growing up, and his family, they listened to the Beach Boys and Barry Manilow, Queen, the Beatles, and so there's like so many of these different influences that you feel and hear in his music. It's absolutely fantastic. So if you do read this book, I highly recommend you check out The Muggs or Dude, or he has a couple other bands too, which is pretty normal for Detroit musicians. I personally used to be a music journalist, and I cannot tell you how many shows I've been to over the years. A lot. And all of my friends that have been in bands around Detroit, a lot of them are in probably like 4 bands. I feel like that's just a normal Detroit thing. I don't know if that transfers over to other states and whatnot. Maybe. Detroit has always had a really vibrant and awesome music scene, and so getting to hear and read one of the stories of someone's band that I've seen growing up over the years in that is pretty awesome, and it's just a really great book. You know, he tells you about growing up and then meeting Danny, who's his bandmate in the Muggs, and them and some of the crap that they got into, you know, the youths doing stuff, getting in trouble and all of that, and then how he got into music, and just how having a stroke, the way that he looked at it and the way he was just like, I'm gonna beat this. He didn't know, but like the doctors thought, first of all, they thought that he might never talk or walk again, and his whole right side was paralyzed. You feel his lust for life and music, and it's so inspiring. There was only one thing I was confused about. Earlier on, he marries this girl Danielle, and they get a divorce, but then it says he marries someone else named Danielle. Like, is it a different Danielle? Was it the same Danielle? I kind of get the vibe it was a different Danielle, and there's probably last names in there, and I might have just missed it. That's probably on me. But I highly recommend it. Even if you've never heard of any of his bands, it actually has an album that goes along with it, so you can check it out. I listened to it once, and then I listened to it again, because it's really, really good. And the album is Autobiograffitti. And I've only experienced this with one other book that I read. There was a book called Krum Kruk that also had an album that the author had that went along with it. And I think that's such a cool thing. I feel like more people need to do this. Josh Malerman needs to have an album that goes along with one of his books, because he's a super great musician, and just saying. One of the things I really like, though, and it's funny, like, you read the book and you hear Tony narrating in your head, it gave me that vibe, like, you ever see the movie Goodfellas and, like, how it's narrated? And just, like, the way he tells the story, it's so good. It's lyrical. It's almost like a street poet with just the way he talks, and it's funny, it's vibrant, it's visual, it's great. I cannot express how much I like this book. There's so many pictures in it, too, which is awesome. So you get to see who all these people are that he talks about in different like points of his life and him growing up. If you were a big music fan, and if you want something that is really inspiring, especially like going through having a stroke, just what it takes to overcome that, and the sheer determination, and just, you know, having support from your family and friends. I mean, I feel like so many times we just take so much for granted, you know? I mean, imagine having a stroke and having to, like, have part of your body paralyzed and having to learn how to, like, talk and walk again and use those, like, use your muscles and all of that stuff. Or just that at any moment in time, how things are normally going for you could instantly change. And so we need to be grateful and reminded of that at times. So I highly recommend Autobiographitti by Tony Muggs. It's heartfelt, inspiring, it's lyrical, it's gritty, it's raw, it's honest, and it has an album that goes with it, which is awesome. So if you are interested in this book, I'll have a link down below to that. I'll have a link down below to the album. I will link the Muggs website. Go check him out. Tony is so musically talented. You might want to check out some of his other bands too and see what those are all about as well. So hopefully I can set you on this path and get a taste of a little bit of like just a little bit of the vibes from our Detroit music scene here in Michigan, and to read a story that's inspired and musically fantastic. If you had fun hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.